I don't know if she's gonna be online or what, and my phone's charging up for her, so I don't get messages. Somebody else wants to reach out. Okay, right. Well, we've almost made it through day one.
Day one.
Yeah.
You knew that wasn't
Oh,
coming.
you know it. We got interested in day two. Okay.
We wanna really make headway, we just talk about the floodplains and the DNR and be like, done.
I didn't even put those on the list because those are done. Those are ones we're not gonna touch. Unless we wanna bring in legal and do all that again. So. But we're at 5:30, so.
Okay, so you're gonna go down, I'm gonna roll time in Rochester, you gonna stay home?
Kevin's gotta get out and make snow angels here soon, so.
You. B2. M1.
61.
EF.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're gonna start off today with B2. That's where we left off yesterday.
That's great.
Or last week, sorry, for our commercial districts. And then we've got M1, DF. And then kind of some catch-all stuff at the end if we can get it here. So, any questions or anything from last time? Mel's gonna take notes a little bit later. Oh, Marie's online there.
I don't have anything beyond B2 on papers.
Yeah, she's going away for vacation this week, so she'll be back on Wednesday, so but she's gonna take notes and do all that stuff and get that out a little bit later. So. And Evan and I can kind of help Mel with that, kind of put together some notes as well, so. But if not, like the other ones, we'll dive right into B2 here. B2 really, again, it just helps address neighborhood scale, highway oriented commercial development. With an emphasis on architectural standards, screening and site design.
So on permitted uses, page B1, the cannabis retail businesses. I just feel, I know it's a permitted use, but I just, I guess I would like to see it being a conditional use permit.
Well, we've turned that over to the county.
Is that?
That's all, we gave it to the county.
Well, we can still take businesses here, county and the city.
Well, I know we're doing the grow, you know.
Well, wait, that was initially in the moratorium. We had that, but now we're beyond that.
But I thought that we went to whatever the county is and everything go, because the county will let the number of shops come in.
County, I think that was during the moratorium.
The county
Passed a resolution.
regulated the number of shops and how they had to operate.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
we
cause it
could-
takes 12,500
I
population
think we
for
could
each
dictate
one.
where we were gonna allow them in town.
Well, even if that was true, I still think it should be a conditional use permit.
You can have it, I have no problem with having a conditional use permit on it. You know.
So do we
Give this a little more exposure, I mean, not exposure, awareness.
Well, yeah, so at least we knew what it is before, yeah.
Evan, does the county require us to have a specific place for those?
I think it'd be ideal if you have something in place just in case the county, approves something and you guys aren't aware of it. It's limited to certain zones. And then on the off chance the county gets rid of their ordinance for whatever reason or devolves their review of permits to the cities, you guys have something on the books for limiting where it's at. So whether it's permitted or conditional, that's obviously up to you guys, but I'd recommend you have it somewhere in one of your zones.
Right, so we wouldn't have an issue with it being conditional as long as it's addressed in the.
Yep.
So we don't have to like say then allow it in M1.
I think what we have to say is where we won't allow it.
Well, which is
Am I
kind
right,
of
Evan?
what's on there, but I think we could.
Yeah. So I think what you guys have now is you have it limited to certain zones, which is where you want it. And the zones you don't want it would be like your R1, your R2. You don't list it in those zones. So
We could do, I'm sorry.
Even if we were to allow it in B2, we could still require a conditional use permit, correct?
correct.
So we could do number 23 and put it as number 23.
Yeah, I just didn't want to get into a situation where we didn't have some allowable location.
Well, again, if we do it as 23, that would, and behind, just going down further on conditional use.
Just says,
Yeah, so I mean,
On 65 or whatever it is.
conditional use means, right, that we can approve or deny it,
Right.
Mhm.
right?
Right. It's a-
Do we need a place do we need a zone where it's allowed,
Well, I think
like
if,
strictly allowed?
I don't want to have it.
I would say you keep it as what you have now.
Yeah, and let's just do 23
you add it to twenty,
to 23.
instead of a conditional use permit.
No, as a conditional use permit, because we've got conditional uses that are there. Here,
But then we're gonna want to move number 9 then as well to conditional use permit,
meetings, assembly halls.
temporary cannabis events.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking, I was down below that.
Well, this is in B2. And when we get to 071, which is M1, that's where you'll see number 11 is the data center. 13 is cannabis cultivators. And I think those two should also be a CUP.
Well, how
We can
But we've
talk about
already-
that later, but there's two differences with cannabis.
Yeah, but we've already approved the one that's going in, that didn't actually take anything, it was a normal permit that was issued from City Hall.
We'll get to M1, let's just focus on the B2 right now.
Right now, we're talking about retail cannabis.
I'm fine with it being conditional use as long as we're not putting ourselves in a position where, since we don't have a non-conditional use location, that we get into a issue with the county.
I agree, I think 23 and 24.
Help me understand, you mean everything that would be in B2 has to have a conditional use permit?
No, just the cannabis.
Well, no, all of
retail.
this says conditional.
You got liquor
uses.
stores, you got places that worship.
Section up on top though.
Huh?
Under
Restaurants.
permitted use.
Yeah, there's permitted uses, so there's a different section up on top that covers the other businesses.
Did I do this a page?
Page 1.
So they're back to back. I don't know if you've got them back to back, Paul. You have conditional uses on one side.
97, 96, 90,
Here's the two we're
where's
talking
my 95? Okay, well, here it says, under permitted uses, but you're talking number 23, this is conditional uses.
Yeah, so I
So
think,
you have to say, have a conditional use permit to put a gas station.
That's what.
In a
P&Z was
B2,
proposing,
yes.
yeah. Which I think is,
I think it's good, yeah.
okay. Do we want to move number 8 and 9 of permitted uses to 23 and 24 of conditional uses?
yes,
Okay, I'm fine with that.
I think it's bizarre. I'll leave it at that.
Do you want it
Well-
as just a permitted use?
Well. You got gas stations, you got hotels, motels, car dealerships, clubs and lodges, theaters. Where else is it gonna be? Why would you need why would you need a conditional use permit for that kind of stuff?
maybe depend the location. you know.
Well,
It's just a
the
matter of-
location is in B2. Where B2 is established.
I'm guessing these B2s came from our current B2 list. Our current quotes.
Yeah.
That was the starting point.
So where's our chart over here?
Evan, is that correct? I think comparing the two.
I'm gonna pull it up right now, yeah.
I was looking for the chart that we had here.
I kind of agree with Paul. Some of these are like your staple type businesses
Exactly.
that, and it's not specific in B1.
Here, animal hospitals,
So-
unconditional right here, under B1. So this is all in our chart that we had copied from the other one. So it's just laying it out, but it's already been in our chart. It is in our chart.
Okay. Well, standards,
Yeah, a lot of these are actually listed as permitted under the current code. So if you want to move around some of those uses, you certainly may.
I don't remember where these came from, how the Was that in the steering committee that they moved them around and? Cause I don't remember P and Z moving any of them around.
P and Z didn't move them, so this would have come from steering committee or, WSB's initiative work on this. But,
So where it came from is if you look at the chart for B1, it has cannabis retail business or lower potency hemp. Manufacturers temporary cannabis events are permitted, and that one is under. It's actually B2, not B1,
This is a Lori's document, correct? Yeah.
but this is in ours, okay?
Well, yes, but that's not ours.
Yes,
That's
it
not,
is.
that's
I
not.
also look at B1 permitted
That's not
uses where it says
that's not
business
the original
and
document.
professional offices.
It's all the original.
Just for offices.
The cannabis thing that existed at the time.
Oh, that's going way back. No, this is.
B1, that's historical, right?
Yeah.
So that's gonna be more of the budding residential areas.
Let's move on. Standards with setbacks. Anything there? Next page is 063 with landscaping. And what was our discussion regarding the word shall?
Shall means must.
I know
Both
that,
language.
because here's landscaping in 063 at the bottom. Shall be landscaped with trees. I guess that's a business versus a residential, so that's.
I know in B1, we updated subsection B of landscaping, which looks like the same one here. To update the language. Evan, do you have the notes on that?
About the turf?
Yeah, we had gone through for that one and we tied it to any new development, and that would essentially require any landscaping would be in accordance with any sort of landscaping plans as part of a new development. So you wouldn't retroactively require anyone to do new landscaping. It'd be anytime someone's doing a new development, you have to do landscaping.
Yeah, I think for business, a business should be able to afford to have that done without just having, planting. I think it wouldn't be bad to have like sod and that type of stuff in a business, because you want to have it finished when they first open up, like what was done with DJ Market. Okay, the trees were in there, the sod was in,
It's part of the landscaping plan.
but which I think is the right way it should be done.
Okay.
We don't have anything specific to sod in there, do we? It seems.
No, I'm just saying, but. With the shell. Says, if any dead or damaged sod shall be replaced. And B.
No, you can see that.
It's on B,
No, I thought I read it in Mel's notes.
68.
Jesus.
Are you talking about the turf stuff, Ryland?
Yes.
Yeah, that was back in the residential districts. Where we're talking about established turf versus sod
Yeah,
versus
okay.
whatever.
Yeah.
That was in residential, not commercial.
But I think established turf is fine because you think of like, Glenn's coaches, they would have seeded that, but they didn't sod that.
Well, isn't that something most people are gonna do anyway, if they have an issue with sod when they're?
Well, it's just all part of, we're making sure somebody doesn't leave it in dirt.
Well,
And,
I understand that for construction purposes, yeah.
But the commercial, the B2 here, it doesn't even reference. Cause there's not like yards, it doesn't reference specifically sod versus any of that kind of stuff. It just talks about.
It does reference back 151, 118, which is what I believe we changed from sod to turf established turf.
Yeah,
They
118,
reference landscape.
042.
I'm okay with leaving it as it is. I'm thinking that a business is going to do that anyway. They're also required irrigation. So even if they do seed or hydro seed, they're going to establish a turf quite a bit faster than a yard anyway, so.
I agree.
When we get back into landscaping, section 118 in the performance standards. On page 2, that's just, we talk about that again, so. You'll leave it as is, that's fine too. I think it'll be covered later on.
I have it as WSB updated or no code. Is what I have it in.
64, 65 storage screening, 66 is outside display. Talked about that before. Nothing else, we're at M1.
I do have one question for the council to consider. We talked a little bit about in the B1, not doing residential. Do you guys have any interest in doing duplex or any sort of residential in the B2 zone at all?
No, I don't think so. No,
Okay.
we'll put that in our too and go that direction. We don't have those commingled.
If we come up with a variance situation for that, we can handle it
We
then.
can have it that way, but I don't want to put it in as being apart. I'd like to leave that out.
Okay.
Apartment over a garage or whatever, you know what I mean? That should be a variance. Or
And I think that should be a variance off of it. I wouldn't openly do that.
The only thing I would consider if we put it in conditional is we have motels, hotels, and conditional uses on B2.
And so the only reason I bring it up is there is one property that would be zone B2 currently on Minnesota Avenue that we've had reach out about adding on to their houses, turning into a duplex.
No,
Right now, under your current draft code, that would not be allowed. So
yeah, no.
They probably have to rezone and then.
yeah, under the current draft you guys have here, they could, I guess, do a development flex situation.
Well, there's ways they could do it, I guess, versus us putting it in black and white. But even if we put item number 25 on conditional uses, it still has to come to PNC and council.
Yeah, so it's just not gonna be permitted right off the get-go. Right,
It would not.
right.
Yeah.
Which is what I agree with, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's just, the answer would be no to that, right, so.
So would you agree to that it could be a conditional use under B2? Because they have motels, hotels. Just because I'm thinking of big structures, I mean, we have,
But that's a duplex, that's different from hotels and motels, that's a duplex, which is residential, so I would say.
Residential
Yeah.
versus.
Well,
temporary.
is it any different than somebody putting up a hotel and keeping the, one of those lower levels as a retail shops? Is that any different
Well, I'm
than?
trying to think, because that's like the main style a lot of places are going to. You got the first floor is all retail, then you got like 2 stories of apartments.
But I think you should be a separate zone for that, not having those scattered throughout. If you wanna do that or separate place.
I mean, I would put it in either B1 or B2, but I look here, you got retail in B1. I would assume you would find a way to combine them, and I want to get a variance or a CUP for that.
I would
specific
leave
project.
that and I would say direct them to development flex if that's the path that
Yeah,
they wanna.
like, because that's one of those, it mixes in there.
If they wanted to do something like over at Peoples.
Yeah.
Then if you wanted to do that along that stretch,
Yeah.
okay, but you could do that, right, yes.
If you wanted to do apartments over shops, that's a development flex, that's what it's for, so. Say we'll just leave that here and
yeah, same with-
Yeah, but when it comes to development flex, that's not generally done with single lots, is it? Isn't that generally used for?
Well, that's what I was saying, like over Peoples, which would be.
Right, but I'm talking about somebody with a single lot. Do you use a development flex program for that?
have.
Because that's.
You can.
This is for more.
I wouldn't say it's common, but you certainly could do a situation where it's a
I
smaller
would
lot
say,
and allow them to have a, retail on the bottom and residential on top. You could certainly do that here.
yeah, I would say that that would be reasonable. 'Cause even if it gets turned,
B1.
no, to keep it as DF, and if we're doing
Oh,
a
yeah.
single
Yeah,
lot, we
always
just
have to
leave
do
it
it.
as the DF. And
Still
then,
And they have to come to us to be able to do it.
Still got CUPs and DFs.
yeah, yep,
So certain items are gonna be required to be in DF to be.
well, it's a combination, like, retail shop
Combination
and
use property.
and apartments. Yeah, that would,
Evan, getting back to your original comment about townhouses, are you saying it'd be better fit for B1 or B2 if we were to do that?
I don't think we were gonna do it. We didn't wanna do that. We do it as an R2.
He asked the question.
And we said
The
no.
only reason I mentioned B2 is I just know a property currently in the city is zoned B2 and they have a house on there and a bunch of commercial businesses on the lot as well.
Well, yeah,
And we've had issues with that lot. Okay.
Yeah.
That's going back for years and that was condemned and all kinds of things that go along with that particular one. So,
that house has been all redone.
we will walk around on the floor and you'll find out it's not that way. So anyway.
It wasn't built to 2025 standard.
oh, M1,
Yeah.
Before we move to M1, was there any information about the B3 in the historic? Because I know that that's going to be now B2, but just wanting to make sure that we've looked at what B3 had and is it exactly word for word what B2 was?
What do you mean historic's gonna be, the historic district is a B3?
no,
There was a B3 listed kind of by the data center and now it's being proposed to be a B2, but in our new zoning ordinance, there is no B3.
yeah, so Marie, that conversation happened because the definitions for B2 and B3 were exactly the same.
Yeah, and we haven't turned around and decided what that lot's gonna be over there. Cause that could
I know-
end up being an R1 or R2 because it's not in yet because it's not a park.
I guess to clarify my question is, can we see what B3 or can I see what B3 was originally written as so I can compare it myself to what B2 is? I've never seen what B3 actually has it listed in an ordinance.
Fair, that's a fair question.
I don't. Have to go back to the old,
Paper book.
yeah.
I'm just doing my due diligence. I want to make sure that we're being thoughtful of that location as well. And if it's redundant, that's fine. But again, I'm taking words on there's redundancy versus laying eyes on it.
Are you looking on the same site as where that is for Robinson on that, Marie, or across the street?
It's the data center land.
Okay, which is right there on the corner of 100th, right?
Yep. But if you look at the future land map that's out online, there's other B3s like that's the corner of 3rd and 100th, closest to the 100th, as well as some of the things to the to the east off Minnesota Avenue. It has B3 listed on there too.
Because we're right now under ag on that one.
I'm looking at the future land use map that's online.
Marie, there is B3 code
Here.
151.152 on Orinoco.com. Under government, city code, land use.
Can you send that to me, Daniel?
And I don't have teams on this.
Yeah, just if you want to just send me an email. I just want to make sure that I'm looking at that just so like we're not missing if there are any call outs that we're just being intentional. I'm not saying we shouldn't rezone that to B2 and be more consistent. I just want to make sure that there's nothing in there that we're not having conversations about that would change any of those locations. Because in the new ordinance that we're looking at now, B3 is not even on there.
Maria, I can put the links in the chat for you if that's
Okay.
easier for you.
Sure. I'm on my phone, but yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. I'll look at it. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Evan.
I emailed you a hyperlink to that page as well.
Okay, thank you. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it that way. I just want to make sure I'm doing my due diligence of looking at making sure that there is redundancy and we're just doing it to really save on all the different zones that we're having out there versus being intentional about those.
Little conversation.
Yeah, we were trying to eliminate some of it because we didn't want it to get too confusing.
And I think that's a fair statement. I just want to make sure that we're all looking and making sure everything lines up appropriately.
I will guarantee that there's something that we are gonna miss because that's a reality. You can't hit everything of every possible condition that's gonna be there.
We have variances. Okay, anything on B two then? Okay, so M1,
M1 focuses on economic development, impact on mitigation tools for screening, loading and storage, and then it's compatibility with adjacent uses. So you're gonna see a lot of bigger type businesses or industrial, if you will. And industrial type businesses that we're gonna fall into the manufacturing light industrial section.
so number 11 and 13. 11 is data center, 13 is cannabis cultivators where they can grow cannabis. I'm not saying they don't need to be an M1, but I just wonder if they should be a conditional use.
Well, it's gonna be, how do we backtrack what we've already given for the use for their cultivation right now?
Well-
We're across off of 52. We've already approved.
Their
that.
grandfathered in.
So it's grandfathered?
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as the data center.
I like moving that down myself, but
Yeah, I don't mind M1 for data, I think. that'd be-
two conditional use is what he's suggesting.
So
So,
M1, but just conditional.
yeah, just conditional use, so it's gotta be reviewed and approved, yeah.
Oh, we move that to C.
Conditional? Yeah.
C14.
Yes,
Data center, C14.
we'll keep the cannabis where it's at.
Yeah.
Cultivators.
Yeah,
Okay. Again, it's just. For awareness and acceptability by the citizens.
I say really, we don't have any available M1 stuff.
No,
as
that's why
is.
it says.
No, we got
It's all,
Well,
100
maybe,
acres
maybe,
across the
maybe,
street.
I don't know, you just say M1 can uses would be, all conditional use permits.
We know we don't have land now, but everything south of 100th Street is fair market, so in the future. I just feel more comfortable in having it as a conditional use and
Okay. I mean, it's always safe to have it that way. As a conditional use. That way we'd have a chance to look at it before it happens.
4 feet is data center. Okay, so we're okay. For cannabis. Okay.
Do we have a time frame on CUPs? Do they have to be redone periodically, or is that a condition of it?
so no, CUPs typically, we've kind of talked about this a little bit today. Most commonly, we don't see them with time, although there has been a few in other cities that have put time on it. Evan, correct me on that if I was wrong in understanding, but that's where your interim use permit typically would come in.
Correct.
Time. But there's not an interim use permit in our new code. So,
And I think we had discussed adding interim use as an option into the code. So if you guys did want to make a use, have a time limit of some sort, you could
So I
use
would,
that.
I would say that instead of conditional use permits for those would be interim use permits. those would fall under the interim use.
I guess I'd like to see a definition of interim, you know.
Well, it's just a permit that it's a CUP that would be, have a time frame that it would need to be renewed.
Why would a developer want to? There's a time period associated with it.
So
We're not looking at the developer, we're
There's-
looking
there's-
at an individual unit.
there's two things that I think consider that. Well, first of all, you gotta look at, you know, and Evan, them going off of the examples we kind of talked about today, where you got like, you're on the river and they've got the Port Authority. There's a lot of stuff where they're on the river. They have an interim use permit. They can be set up for 20, 30 years type of thing. I would assume it would be similar with like a data center. You could set them up for X amount of years. That's kind of where that's gonna be, but also with the interim use permit, the interim use permit does not transfer with the property, whereas a CUP that transfers with the property.
Right.
So that's also the other difference to consider is,
Which is good, that's a safety net that there
I
is.
mean, I don't care if it's 10, 15 years, but what happens if we grow exponentially and we need to build a school and it just so happens to be right, the land available is right next to where we've approved a cannabis growing facility, like it would be good to have a time.
Nobody
frame.
says you have to approve the cannabis growing facility either.
No, but, just looking at what happens
It'd
if,
be a grandfathered situation, that would be that way too, which is what we're dealing with now.
Basically, you wouldn't put the school go there.
So an interim use permit, does that go along with just B1, B2 and M1, or what does it go along with? Residential too?
the conversation that we
It would
had
be
where we
B
were
and
gonna
M,
put
I
it.
would think.
Evan,
Usually you'd probably do a commercial or industrial zone, so a lot of uses that you might have a little heartburn with. For example, you'd maybe make those interim uses. You know, you have some adult uses, I guess, in the M1 zone, maybe that would be a interim use instead of a conditional use. You know, a greenhouse maybe wouldn't be something that would be, you know, long term, maybe that could be an interim use and you would have it for up to 10 years, so.
One-
40 cents.
so Evan, with the interim use permits, would it be easy, beneficial to just turn the conditional use section into CUP/IUP section, or should we really define what's gonna fall under each one?
I would specify which would apply. So if you were to have a CUP/IUP, it'd be hard to arbitrarily decide, you know, at the time of application, which permit should be applicable or required. And that could obviously raise some sort of concerns and lawsuits if you don't necessarily know exactly what the permit would be. But if you actually specify explicitly, you know, which each use is allowed as, whether it's permitted, conditional, interim, it's very transparent and clear to the applicants what they're applying for and what they'd be reviewed as.
Well,
That makes sense too.
doesn't the interim or a conditional use permit goes with the property?
It does.
Yeah.
An interim use permit would be, say like over here, they wanted to use it for a retail shop until they got the place built next door, they could interimly use it till they did something.
Yeah, it's all set up with the
Mhm.
timeline and doesn't transfer with the sale of the property or anything like that.
Yeah, that's it, the transfer is big.
So I guess, Evan, my next question to you would be, and this will kind of be something for council to think on. We've gone through B1 and B2 already, and everybody seemed fine with how it was set up. There would be a lot more consideration. We'd have to sit down and go through if you want to divide those, or do we want to just have interim use start with an M1?
Yeah.
M1
Yeah.
properties,
I can appreciate what we're talking about, and I think it's probably worth looking at. But I think at this point in time, I'd rather put that on our to-do list, part of our living document, rather than starting to talk about everything, something from scratch.
Yeah.
It hasn't gone to the steering committee. I think it's a great idea. I just don't think we have the time for what we're trying to accomplish.
I think we need to be careful calling it a living document, because once you put it in place, it's in place. And in order to, you know, if it's a living document, that means anybody can come in and change it on you.
Little process,
I understand that.
but I don't think that's,
Do you want every document you do to have to be altered down the road?
Well, you can get
At any
a
point,
variance for anything.
it can
if
be
there is.
amended. That's what I think he's
that's
getting
one
at.
person's piece.
All right, I think that's what he's getting at is You know, let's just focus on what we have here and then document, okay, we know after we approve this, let's go ahead and make some amendments for including an interim use permit, and let's walk it through the steps real quick, do that.
I'm fine with
I
that.
think we've been using some interim use permits now. You know, with P and Z that have come up over the last couple of years, you know, so.
Maybe,
I know it's-
I'm
I know it's
okay with
talked about
putting it on a
property.
to-do list and talking about it in the future.
Or looking at just an M1 on that and say,
Yeah.
leave the other with where they are.
Okay.
I'm hearing mixed things and I wanna make sure we're moving
Do I have
forward
a
with it.
consensus to put it on our to-do list?
Yeah.
Okay,
For interim uses.
yeah,
Yeah.
to look at that as an addition later on.
Marie, are you okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
You made a comment here. Marie, do you wanna talk on this one? On your
Yeah,
comment?
yep, I just said, so I just chat GBT the difference between the B3 and the B2 just based on what we're doing. And so there is some mismatch in terms of focus and it's more on just intensity. So I just wanted us to be thoughtful on this. So what it's saying is the B3, right? It was intended to be kind of a buffer between residential and commercial with a lower intensity of traffic as well as scalability to neighborhoods. And so with the shift to a B2, some of those B3s are butting up to many houses. And so B2 again is highway kind of business oriented, right? We're going to have larger setbacks. We're going to have a lot more traffic in and out. And there's going to be probably a higher noise because we're rezoning it to highway commercial, right? And so I just want us to be thoughtful on that in some of those areas. I don't know some of those big businesses with that high potential output of traffic as well as noise. I just want us to be really thoughtful on that. I know we were trying to condense, but allowing some of those things, we could be not setting kind of that land use up for success in those areas.
Do we
I-
currently have anything in B3?
Yes, the data center is the
Just
only
the
thing.
data center.
Yep, on their property.
But we're trying to change that to M1?
No,
B2,
it's just that one little property, that one section that's at the
To the
end.
south of it.
Yes.
it's the whole thing.
It's their whole property, but
They use the rest of it, don't they?
They own,
Yeah, I
they
don't
own
think they're
the
gonna
rest
be
of it.
doing anything with it.
they don't want anything around it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they can't sell it off and they can't put whatever else on it. So I just want us to be thoughtful on that spot. And then again, looking at the future land use map that's online, there are B3 on the east side of Minnesota Avenue in that corner. When you turn off there, there's B3 listed there too. And that's the 2020 future land use map that's online.
Just, I can appreciate, thanks, Marie. But when it comes to the B3 part of, the data center and the property to the south of it, just use that for an example. Do we have a reason why from them, why they don't want somebody to use that property to the south? Because who knows is that maybe for future expansion or what?
This is by the,
But P.H. Robinson.
You're talking everything north of 100 still. They're just their entire
Right,
chunk
there's
of
that stretch
property.
north of 100 between them and the data center.
I don't know if there's
That's their property.
regulation that they have to have.
Yeah, I don't know all that, but I just know they've got land on both the north and south of their building that they just want to keep as vacant land. Yeah, I don't know that there are any talks or anything of expanding it, but
the reason they bought the property and bought everything is because they didn't want any neighbors. They wanted the security.
Yeah.
Because that question was asked many times when we were working with them and they said, no, we just don't want anybody on either side of our building. So that's why they purchased all that land.
And that's why I wonder if it isn't for the security part that there is with that.
I don't see
what they
them.
Need to do.
But say in a year they turn around and sell it and we rezone that, there's no more, I mean, as long as it falls into B2, we don't have a say in some of those things. So I just want us to be intentional and thoughtful on that. Just because the data center owns it and they don't want neighbors doesn't mean they can't turn around and sell that property off. And we are in a predicament of putting something in close to houses that we don't want going there.
That's one of my concerns.
It's still, I guess that's, you make a good point. I guess that's just what they told us. They own all the property and that's the risk they take, I guess, based on what they told us initially.
Also, the only property actually in the city limits is what C.H. Robinson sits on. Everything else it has not been.
Right.
Well, in all reality, they're entitled to split off their property just like anybody else.
Again, I don't know security wise with that. I mean, I don't know all those details that there are, but with data centers.
So Evan, maybe it's thoughts from you on how we manage that property, just because it does butt up against a lot of residential and just the quick zoning to, and I agree. I think we need to be thoughtful on how many zones we have, particularly that process or that chunk of land. I get they own it and they're not going to do anything, but that doesn't mean that in a year they sell it off and then we're in a tight spot because we've rezoned it. I don't know what you think about that property.
Yeah, so right now in the draft ordinance on page 67 for reference, so just above the landscaping section, it does note that there would be an increased setback, which basically would provide a buffer between any B2 lot and then any abutting residential. And so that would result in an increased setback for any buildings as well as any parking or driveways. So that would hopefully kind of mitigate some of the concerns of having a lot that's zoned B2 right next to a lot that's zoned R1 or R2.
You're on 151,063.
Something 67, which are 161, yes. Oh, no.
It's just above 151.063. So
Yeah,
it
I
talks
see
about
that. And actually, if it stays at, if it's a B2, it gives more protection on it, Marie, not less.
Yeah, well,
What your concern is. So B2 would give actually
but
more
the
protection for the property owners next to it.
I'm seeing a 10-foot setback though. Well, wait.
Because
I have
it
to
says a
zoom in.
75-foot landscaping buffer between a major automotive repair facility, all this stuff that there is all in B2. So it's also B2 zoning district is located adjacent to any residential zone property, the side yard, all that stuff shall be a minimum of 25 feet. So there's more stuff that actually gives protection as a B2.
And you got 100 feet from residential.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess then in that space, the only one would be the corner of that lot, closest
Which
to
would give us-
100th.
Yeah, it would give protection that there is, so I think it gives more protection being under a B2 than it is to try to do a B3.
Yeah, I just don't know. Even the link that you sent me, Daniel, it doesn't give me the setbacks for B3. So again, I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
because we eliminated the
same.
B3.
No, the original code, I don't know that had setbacks. So the only thing, the only thing that it currently, B3 is actual C.H. Robinson lot. Nothing else has been brought into the city yet. It looks like there's one residential lot abutting that one.
That's township.
It's township, yeah, right?
Yeah, there's a house right next to it, and then it butts up against the trailers. At least that side of that lot, that north side of that lot, butts up against the trailer homes, but that's
This
township.
up there.
I'm pretty sure they bought everything to the
Oh.
township.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
So there's not anything on those.
It's all grass and hay.
Then too, once it comes to B2, you've got all those
Okay.
conditional uses that have to get
they
approved.
did beans this year, Ryland.
Yeah, so
What's that?
They did beans this year.
Oh, beans. Beans in a drain field.
So yeah, Marie, the other thing with the B2 is you have all those additional conditional use permits that would still be required before a lot of things could go in there. So there's even those extra precautions to,
I think
You know.
B2 gives you more precautions than trying to turn around and do something with B3.
So,
Yeah, again, I mean,
Yeah, and it
our
look-
ordinance now has all the setbacks where the B3, you don't know what it said before, so. I just want us to be really thoughtful on just shifting things, especially when there's houses impacted right there. I mean, none of us would want that type of commercial highway property in your backyard.
Now, remember that's township too, that's back there.
I don't care if it's township or not. No one was gonna want that. And it's ours to manage right now. I mean, township people, even if you lived in the township, you wouldn't want that in the backyard. I'm speaking on behalf of being a good person and being a good steward to everyone that lives in the town and the township.
You know,
So I think
those
B2
impact
again
on-
gives us a lot of those extra precautions, Marie.
Okay. Like I said, I just haven't seen all of the wording for B3, so I just wanted to make sure we're pausing and being thoughtful on this versus just making this decision, particularly in that space.
Yeah, it does look like in your current codes online on the website, there is a couple different buffer requirements between those different commercial zones and the residential zones. And we would actually be much higher or a much larger requirement than what's currently in your code. So
Okay, so the
Right.
B2 gives more. Okay.
yes.
Where are
yeah.
you where are you finding that, Evan? Because I'm in there now
Um,
and I don't see them.
Yeah, so I can send a link. I'll send a link in the chat, and if you aren't
And
able to
sorry,
access it there,
I don't mean to like create a rabbit hole. I just have never seen it. So I just wanted us to pause and make sure that we're covering our bases. And if B2 gives that buffer, so we can't put, a junkyard or whatever in there, like I just want us to be thoughtful on that space.
It's only fair that everybody be aware, or you don't feel bad about it. You need to know too.
Yeah, it's,
yeah, I just put it in the chat for Marie, and if you want me to send it via email, that's easier.
Oh, this works. I can
Okay.
grab it off my phone. Thank you.
so Evan, as we go forward and in our new codes, we won't have a B3. So do we go back to that land, rezone that B3 to a B2, or do we leave it as a B3? But there's no code that applies that they can do anything with it.
I think we would probably rezone the CH Robinson site, and then your
Yeah,
future
fine.
land use map that Marie noted has some future areas as B3. We could have that as a future item to
Well,
address.
would we actually rezone the CH Robinson site itself versus the open part of the lot?
You just rezone the whole lot to B2 would be my recommendation. Or if you
Okay.
wanted to, maybe
That's a-
R1 or M1 since it's data center, so.
Do we have to give any type of notification for that and have a public
Yes,
hearing? Okay.
yeah, anytime you rezone, there'd be a public hearing, and then that goes through your plan and zoning committee, and then you guys as the council will get to approve or deny
Yep.
that.
Only for property in the city, nothing.
Correct.
Okay,
Well, not necessarily, because to update the future land use plan and the future land use map, it has to go through public hearing.
Okay.
Would we reach out to CH Robinson directly and let them know that that's coming? Or is that just, or we just post public notice that we're rezoning it? I'm just
We
thinking
would-
of like how we be good stewards in this space for them.
yeah, we talk with them and let them know.
Okay.
All right, let's, it's okay, let's continue on. M1, I believe. And then we're gonna move 11 data center to permitted to a conditional use number 14. Page 3 of M1. The standards for setbacks, those look okay. Right. Next page is, has the diagrams, of course, we talked about everything, the property, the setbacks need to show on a right-of-way line, so those are all graphic updates. Next item is 073 landscaping. Word shall is used there in landscaping. And 151,075, item B, there's a section. It's 151.070. Does everybody have that?
That's it, down here, yeah.
Okay, is that what that to, I can.
So that's 1070 there. Back up, what's it say?
Intent.
070 is a couple pages back. Well, that refers to
Intent.
goes, but permit, no, intent. Of M1.
Well, even under intent, what does it mean by high levels of landscaping? What is that? What's that terminology supposed to imply or,
Well, it's kind of
Yeah.
part of,
well, it says high levels, but that's all that, what does that mean? If you under it, 151,070 in the intent. Or what one steered us back to.
Intent.
And it says the district is intended to accommodate business park development, high levels of landscaping. What is high level?
the
It's
diagram.
all open for interpretation.
Yeah, it's,
There's business is a little bit different, though one may have more open space than another, so what is their high level considered? Versus, one versus the other, and then, location, where does it fit in? Does it, something that would need more versus less?
So like,
You know.
it's more. And then conditions.
It's definitely fits in with the green
I
belt.
understand it, yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, but
When
then they
when
gave
it
you,
says high levels and Jason says it leaves open
but
interpretation.
it's also
That's why they
showing,
have them all along.
yeah, but it's also showing pictures of what they're talking about here. That's why they put the diagrams in. Okay, so it just isn't
Yeah,
reading it,
that's-
it shows diagrams of what we're talking about here, so.
Moving on to development flex.
Oh, I got you. I got you.
Exactly, our whole issue.
Well, yeah, but
That's
you're never gonna,
20 years down the road, it's problem.
Issue.
How they want to
You're not
interpret
taking
that.
the whole issue in most of. It's not just with us, it's even.
But it's one of those where like it really, there's so much, you can't be more specific because of the difference between buildings and between businesses. What is considered high level for that business may not be for somebody else.
Exactly, Marie said something about going down a rabbit hole, it's more like going down an anthill, you don't know where it's gonna spread out from that.
Yeah.
All right, development flex. There's been a lot of questions and comments early on. I've had a change in heart, I guess, about it. I'm okay with it. Versus keeping the PUD. Okay. Still has everything in place that we need to control, have input.
I just think that with that, we'll see everything up front and there won't be any surprises a year down the road. And I think that that's the most important thing to everybody, especially if you have public hearings and that at least it's gonna be up front.
So where on the land use map would be a development flex zone?
Would have to be applied for.
So it could be anywhere that that you wanna do residential.
Are we gonna,
Change your zoning.
No, it doesn't change any of that. Yeah, so it depends upon what the development would be. What they wanna go in as.
Basically opening rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's not like it's a R1, R2, B1, B2. You're not gonna see a DF zone on the map. It's gonna be, I live in R2, but I'd like to have an R1 style house and I'd like to development flex because I live right on the edge between two properties or between the two, and you'd use it for something like that. Or I mean, there's a lot of uses, but
I mean, you could use it for anything, basically. It doesn't fit within that land use.
Yep,
And
but
now
it's
I
there.
wanna,
It's
Even
there.
like we were talking about with the people's co-op that there is with that land that there is right now. That they could turn around and do that as a DF area, what they want to put inside there.
Well, I think one of the biggest one of Ryland's concerns before, it had to do with when you're in R2 and you have a restriction on your lots, you have to have a certain lot size. And then they want to shrink them up, so I'm just as, for example, I shrink it up 1,000 feet, that the rest of it would have to be done the same.
Which would be go to a development flex and get
Which
approved.
would- Okay, well, that's what, so it's not necessarily just one property,
It could be
it would,
anything.
it would affect that whole development if the developer applied.
Yeah, we give them flexibility in their overall development of their property. Yeah, correct.
But and Evan, please correct me if I misspeak here, but it's, when a developer comes in, they give you a preliminary plot for the 20 acres. They're gonna come in like we're doing with the condo. I mean, we approve what is, it's beyond the concept, it's a planning drawing that shows exactly where he's gonna put the buildings and the spaces and everything. So we approve that, but he will come back with a final plat.
Mhm.
And that final plat will have everything that's in that 11, 13 acres.
Mhm.
So we know what's gonna be built too. So if he changes anything within that final plat that we approved, that still has to come back to Council or P and Z to review it and say, yes, we
Exactly.
allow that to happen. Is that correct, Evan?
Correct.
Yeah, I think that's a good summation, Mayor. And I would just clarify, you wouldn't see it on the map until you guys approve any development flex zone. So once you approve it, then it would obviously be mapped on your zoning map. But until you actually approve a development through that development flex zone, you wouldn't see anything with that zoning designation yet. So whenever that were to get approved, you would see that get updated on your map. But at this time, when you adopt your new code, you wouldn't have anything within that zone.
That's helpful. So there would be another section on that land use map with a different color for the
Yeah.
areas that apply and get accepted for a DF.
Correct. Yeah. So you could think of it as your zoning map right now has the different zones listed and the different colors associated with it. So we'd have in that legend, you'd have a DF zone colored in there, but you wouldn't have any of the lots in the city zoned as that yet.
Keep me honest here, Evan, on this, but reading this, there was that question earlier about, say, somebody wanted to put an apartment complex in. Then have shops or anything underneath of it. It looks like this section F under development flex might actually cover that too, to make an allowance to do that.
Yep. Yeah. So if you guys want to have that be the, preferred process, you can certainly do that. Some cities will allow certain residential zones in their commercial zones. So it's up to you guys, what you want for your zoning. So
So
if you guys
essentially that,
prefer development flex, we can certainly do that.
but that almost rules out the question we had of, does that fall into B section or R2? And it looks like the development flex allows for that review, so.
Yep.
And today our ordinance doesn't allow residential occupation above a business. Something changed. So to take that one step further on the residential side, Evan, if we come in with a plan that has, they give a preliminary plat, it's approved, and they bring in a final one. The final one has minimum size lots, which meets whatever number we end up with.
Mhm.
We also have the larger lots. And the street locations and everything like that. So once that's final plus developed, they really can't come in and change streets and change where they're gonna put the houses or the boxes on the drawing that shows the houses.
It'd be very hard at that point once you actually put in the streets. and
I
everything.
wanna make sure we're not losing what they told us originally wanted to do.
Yeah, so they have to come back to do that. They can
That's
change
the
it.
idea.
That's the idea behind it.
Yep.
First, you have a preliminary plat's gonna have that on it.
Even if
Break
they
up the
wanted
lot.
to turn a house 90 degrees, so the driveway was on a different road, they'd have to come back to get that
And
approved.
that's, that's the way River Park, Cedar Woodlands, Riverwood Hills Divisions 1 through 4, they've never changed from what they originally approved. They were all residential. Now, the only thing that could change is Riverwood 5, which never has been developed. So we don't know how that developer, whoever wants to build that, but we're cool.
And
Well, I think
I
it's
think,
only fair to keep it consistent. The object when Riverwood Hills was first started is the closer it got to 100th Street, the higher the density would happen, That was the original intent.
Rather, I think that's actually good clarification for what it's worth, because when that initially came up, I think there was a lot of knowledge around development flex. I know some people from Cedar Woodlands, I think they thought development flex meant free for all. So I think that's good clarity to call that out, that they still have to come back for any approvals and all that, because I think that was the concern, was that
Yeah.
with this flex, it was just a flex. I mean, it was just, you could do kind of whatever you wanted once you got that granted, but that's not actually the case. I think that's good clarification that you just made there, so.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
You bring
And
it
that's
in,
what-
you bring it in.
Yeah.
The original.
Yeah,
plan.
exactly.
Yep.
Which gives
And that would-
more guarantee of
That
what
would
there
be the
is for
understanding, I think, when they
the,
heard it the first time, so.
it's just the name of what goes
I
on.
would think it would resort back, is what I.
Resort or apply for a new, right?
Yeah.
Well, now we're into it, so we're done.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, Evan, I got a question for you.
Okay.
So say we approve, we'll just use Greener's Pub to have an apartment above it. They go through the process, they're DF. And they've got the apartment above it. They're that way for 10 years. Somebody buys the property, bulldozes the existing building with the apartment. Now that lot is DF, are the new owners beholden to the original plan or have to put in a new DF plan? Or does that revert back to like a B1?
I think you would leave it alone, because you'd have the opportunity to require certain things or not allow certain things. You'd have to bring the plan to you to look at it.
And redo a
What would be
plan?
a new.
Yeah, so I would say in that situation, if they were to demolish it, anything they were to rebuild would have to adhere to that previously approved development flex zone, and anything deviating or different from that, you guys would have to approve as a either new development flex zone, or if you wish to amend it, however you want to think of it. But anything different would have to come back to you guys for approval.
But we'd still know what's going on, so it gives us
So,
flexibility.
Evan, is that in here or do we need to add that? Cause I'm not.
My interpretation reading it now, that's clear to me, but we could maybe add some language to make
Where does
that
it
clear
say
to
that?
everyone.
Where are you seeing that? I just wanna make sure I'm.
I guess right now it looks like your procedures you'd have to go through anytime you request the zone, you have to go through that process of filing an application for a CUP and a rezoning. Any changes to the CUP, you'd have to amend that CUP.
151,082, point number
Yep.
3.
Correct.
Any changes to the standard or allowed uses within an area zone development flex shall require a conditional use permit amendment.
Yeah, so in the situation, if you had a building that was approved via that development flex zone and it was demolished, you would still be allowed to rebuild as is, as was previously approved. But if you're doing something different, you'd have to come back to the city to request an amendment to allow that
Yeah.
new, different building.
So he's saying
Those
that,
records.
if there's a business there.
We have to hold them forever.
That's what you'd have to do.
On building record.
Or come back,
Amendment.
Okay, thanks, Evan.
So how would that situation be any different if the data center bulldozed that and now they're B2 and now there's going to be a huge, I don't know, hoteling space with a huge parking lot and a auto repair and a cold storage. And I mean, again, I think that, I don't know, Evan, if that is a procedure within all of the different zones, that if they demolish something and they're reconsidering building something different, is there procedures for all of them that say the same thing? Like, I just want to make sure that we're thinking about, like,
Yeah.
in that instance too, if the data center sells it and someone buys all that land and demolishes that data center, I mean, now it's B2.
Yeah, so let's say, for example, they demolished the data center and the use that they want to do is, let's say it's a daycare center, since that's a conditional use right now in your B2 zone, that would come before you guys for that conditional use permit. If they wanted to split the lot, that would be a subdivision request, and that would trigger review by your planning commission and then you guys to the council. Anything that's permitted, it wouldn't come before you guys unless there's some sort of variance that they're requesting. So if they aren't meeting setbacks, for example, or if their building's too tall, that would come before you guys. But if it's a permitted use, that would be allowed, provided they're, again, meeting those requirements. So landscaping, setbacks, building height, etc.
And that's where I think it's, Marie, I think it's slightly different because you're talking B2 versus Flex, where Flex, they were given permission to move away from, say they were B2 and now they're flexing. Whereas, so when they demolish it and want to go back, build something else, gonna resort back to the B2 anyways, whereas the data centers say B2, they demolish it and do that. They're already in the B2, like it's there, it's expected that that's what's gonna happen. So whereas the development flex, they only have that one opportunity to rebuild it exactly, otherwise it's gonna resort back to whatever it previously was.
Okay,
A2, they could do any of the permitted uses.
permitted uses
Yeah.
there.
Protected.
Okay.
Even as M1.
Yeah, sorry, however, yeah, I was
I
just
mean-
trying to use that particular as a property, like whatever gets M1 or whatever gets used at, but that's, I think the key is the development flex. The whole thing with that is once it's different than a regular property because a regularly zoned property, just because it's got that development flex, the flex on there. And then once that goes away, you demolish the building and want to do something different, it resorts back to its original home of whatever area it's in, if you will. Whereas if it's just a building on a lot and they want to tear it down, well, that's fine. They still have to follow in with that zone that they're already within.
Yeah, I think to Grant's point about the communication out to people about this new zone and that, Jason, of like if it gets approved and then it changes hands or gets demolished or whatever, it goes back to the original. Like I think that type of message out is going to be really important that we communicate that, like Grant said, it's not a free for all and there's still controls over some of those. I think that's going to be really important.
I think it's no matter what, especially these first couple of years, it's going to be you can educate all you want to, put information out there. It's still going to be a shock to people, or there's still going to be people come in and it's going to take time. But yeah, I mean, we'll definitely continue to work to educate and put things out there. And as the permits come in, again, strongly educate them with, this is what this is. These are the purposes. And then as they go through the process, just keep reiterating to them through the committees, to council, to, so it doesn't leave their mind, but.
This public hearing, so that's what a public hearing is about, to help educate it when it comes to that. So everything is open for that public hearing. So it's.
I get that, but it is our job as city council to share with residents because I think people are anxious and nervous anytime there's a public hearing about what's going to be in my backyard and is it going to align to what I was sold and thought that this city should do. So I also think we need to be thoughtful on how we proactively share this so that they know we're being intentional about our decisions versus we're waiting for anyone to come and bring their crazy idea and it may or may not align to what we want to do within Orinoco. So I do think we need to be proactive and think about it from a resident perspective because I know a lot of people are nervous about what's going to go in the backyard and I don't have any control over it. And that's the sediments that are being stated. So I think we just need to really think about that and try to, as city council, share that message consistently out to people and not just wait for a public hearing because not everyone's going to go and or know what it's about.
Like I said, Marie, from the staff side, we'll continue to put out information, especially once it gets approved, we'll put out stuff, but as much as we put things out, there's still gonna be people who don't pay attention to it until it's the moment of. So, but yeah, we will make sure that we put out as much as we can before it even gets to those kind of levels.
Thank you.
Thank you.
083 is the plan requirements. I'm having a little difficulty with this one, mainly because the way it's written, if a developer comes in, like a Lennar or D.H. Horton, and they buy 40 acres, and they're gonna come in and per 1 through 6, it's gonna be, here's the houses, here's the plans we're gonna offer. It's good, to me, it looks, for lack of words, it's gonna be looking like a cookie cutter development with just so many plans. And that's something we've never done in Orinoco. What we've always done so far is a developer comes in with land and they sell individual lots and you get individual home styles. And my concern is, I'd like to somewhat eliminate 1 through 6, but I don't think it's, if that's what we want, that's fine, but that's an opportunity for a big developer to come in and do that.
Are you talking about
And-
under A or?
Yeah. Yeah, no, and
So I just, maybe there's a better way of saying how we go forward developing the development flex, but I just concerned about we're gonna get into a situation where we're gonna lose the identity of a homeowner and what they really want versus picking plan A, B, or C, or D.
well, and you know, the whole thing that there is behind the development flex is to know these things. That's what we want to have, okay? And so those are the important parts that there are with it, that gives us a chance to look at it and approve it and know exactly what's gonna go on ahead of time. You know, and again, this development flex is something that's worked well in a lot of communities. That's why it's there and accessible. So somebody comes in and these developers understand what this is. And so, yeah, you get a choice of 4 different layouts and that's what it is. And, you know, welcome to California, because that's kind of what you got when you went into stuff. But that's the idea behind it.
Rochester is, you know.
So,
And there's the other stuff, new stuff in Rochester is that way too. If you look at it, it's,
Great for Rochester.
well, no, but I mean, this is why you can say yes or no with the developer, with what they want to have and what we want to have with it. We want to know exactly what's going on so that there aren't, okay, now there's a change and something else is different. Then the development flex won't work and it's got to come back to us for approval for planning and zoning.
Well, maybe that's something that needs to be revisited in R1 then. So when it comes to something like that, it's a cookie cutter thing could not be allowed.
Well, no, then if it's not a development flex, then it can do an R1 and there's gonna be those regulations that go with it, and it's not a development flex type situation.
They're gonna meet all the same setbacks and everything, is that's not.
Yeah, the setbacks are there. So Evan, based on your experience with DF and what we have in Orinoco with all individual homes, and how does development flex work with a continuing having individual houses built per whatever the property owner wants?
I could see there could be an issue where you might have a developer plan, 10 lots look one style, and maybe that style isn't received well by the market and buyers don't want that style and they have to change their plans. But instead of doing a quick change of, providing a different floor plan or house design to the client, they have to come back to you guys and amend the previously approved development flex approval just to change the floor plan or elevation of a house. So I see where you're coming from, where there could be a little bit of difficulty, but I do think you would want some sort of preliminary plans to get an expectation of what you're supposed to be seeing for that development.
the way that I'm reading this is, it's not saying that like for A1, like this is saying it's gonna be either, composite siding or hardy board, and it's gonna be asphalt shingles, but it's not saying it's gonna be green siding with
No, that's right.
purple, asphalt shingles. And for floor plans, one, we could change it to duplexes and greater would need floor plans, or, well, again, the way I'm reading this is this will be a walkout basement with an elevation of a second story or slab on grade. Like, I'm not reading it as the bathroom's gonna be here and the entrance to the garage is gonna be.
No, I'm not saying
here.
that inside, I'm just saying,
Well, generally,
you
we,
gotta push plans, floor
generally,
plans and elevation.
generally though, Ryland, when it comes to like D.R. Horton and some of them,
Mhm.
they're gonna have a cookie cutter of 4 or 5 different
Yeah.
floor plans.
Right.
And the only thing the buyers can do is pick out their cabinets, carpet and wall colors.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the way the things are going, you know, that's.
Well,
that-
look at River Bend. Those homes are all individually, they're all very nicely well done.
But those wouldn't be DF, those would be R1. And you can do R1 over there. This is only development flex, okay? We're not saying everything that there is has to be development flex. You can sell everything as an R1 without a development flex, and you can do whatever you wanna do in it.
And it would have to come, like, say the developer wants to build in an R1, but wants to do this type of style, they've gotta, development flex it. They're gonna have to come in before and.
Get the deal out.
So,
Flex approved.
So let's take, River, where you guys are, River, over there with your land in between. You don't necessarily wanna have a development flex over there. You wanna have it as R1.
Keep similar size
So
lots.
you want all the size lots that are across from where you live at to be where they are. So it wouldn't be a development flex, it would be R1. And so then you go with R1 standards and not development flex.
I think what Jim's trying to.
Which every house can be different.
I think what Jim's trying to say, Ryland, is you don't necessarily have to approve the development flex if it doesn't fit the style of the houses in the neighborhood.
So, okay, so why don't we? So the other option is to. Maybe I'm grasping here a little bit, but a PUD, which is what all of our developments are to date. We still allow PUDs, but how about if we made still use the development flex, but have a development flex for a developer that just wants to buy land and sell lots?
But that's not what a PUD is, okay? Because we wanna know.
PUD is.
I
Or
would
not a
say,
PUD, but development flex, sorry.
I would say requiring in a scenario like that, under a developmental flex, would require some sort of covenants to be made for the neighborhood saying that no house is going to be under 2,300 square feet, whether it's,
Just like our covenants.
whether it's 2 stories or slab on grade, it can't be less than 2,300 square feet. I don't care what the shape is. So that's the way that I'm reading it, is with floor plans, as I'm not the specifics of it, but having a developer come in and say, the intent of this neighborhood, this DF, is to have houses that are X number of square feet, can be walkout if the lot provides, this and that, so.
That's okay, it's just.
So that still allows the sale of individual lots and independent builders coming and building on to those lots. They just have to abide by those covenant rules that were approved in the DF. That's how I'm reading this, and I think that's just my interpretation, but that's how I'm looking at it, and I feel like it's the easiest way to kind of do both scenarios.
So Ryland, is part of your concern that say it's an R1 zone right now or R1 area? The developer comes in and if we landed at 14,000 square feet, he wants to drop it down to 10. But this is basically setting up that if all those lots go to 10, he needs to lay out everything. So now it's that cookie cutter kind of situation you're explaining, because if you have to meet all the criteria for that development flex, it impacts the full plan for that entire plat versus just saying lot by lot, they're all gonna be 10,000. And they can do what they want on it, but your concern is more that they have to have everything in full laid out and now it's kind of stuck.
Well, the development
It's
flex,
just,
It's the rigidness.
the development flex would affect the entire parcel that's being brought in.
no, I'm just trying to keep, in my mind, I'm trying to keep individual homes. What the property owner wants, not somebody dictating you gotta pick one of 6.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so there's other places around town that you can do that. So it isn't like, okay, this is where you have to go to do this. You can buy property and do whatever you want and put it in an R1, some other place part of town. There's,
We can have a developer come in with buy 20 acres and put a whatever size lot he wants to meet our standards with setbacks and everything. And those are all things that the property owner has to work with an individual contractor.
Mhm. So I mean, the choice is whatever, however they want to do it. This is, again, it's a separate type of a situation that goes in with the DF, okay? All right, if you want to keep everything as R1, they can keep everything as R1 and go in and do it that way with what we've already got with our standards.
And
So
the
the-
city say, no, you have to submit a development flex plan.
If they want to change stuff, the answer is then they'll have to go this other way that there is with it, you know, because here it also says anticipated pricing and proposed homes. You know, floor plans, elevations for all proposed homes. Okay, so it's laying it out, but it's saying, okay, if you want to change, you go that way. But we're gonna see what you're gonna do before you do it, and that's what you've got to stick with.
So it's point number 6 that has some weight. Narrative explaining the proposed development and mix of housing types.
So would it be reasonable to add,
Or the 6 plans.
Well, it's, if you go to some of these other areas and you look at it, you basically, they have 5 or 6 different types of homes. And this is what you get. Pick out the one that you want, and that's kind of where you go. You know, I mean, this is unique in what we have, but this is giving a chance to be able to grow and give developers an opportunity to do something a little bit
Yeah, and there
different.
may be a perfect place for it, I guess. That's,
I think, right, sounds to me like Ryland's main concern is somebody coming in, buying 40 acres
Mhm.
and putting up a bunch of pre-built homes
Exactly.
for sale to the public after they're built.
No,
Unsold homes. And I think
that's,
his
that's part of
concern.
it, manufactured homes are not in our code.
No, I understand that, but DR Horton doesn't do that. DR Horton comes in, they'll go buy, for example, they'll go buy 100 acres. And everything they put on it, they're gonna pre-build it and people are gonna buy it later.
so in other words, they pretty much,
Just a minute.
Okay.
And we're down in your neighborhood and Jim's neighborhood, they developed the lots. And they sold the individual lots and they acquired the builder and built what they wanted. So it's individually built instead of somebody coming in and doing that cookie cutter like your larger ones would.
so your stuff at your place would still be R1 and everything would stick in with what R1 is. So they could do whatever they want to do with it. So the choice is for the developers to take it. Do they want DF or they want R1?
So the development flex is not mandating R1, R2, B2.
It's in addition to that or an exception to that.
Is that everybody's understanding?
yes.
The Development flex just.
I
just wanna make sure we're all-
I do think it's like, for this specific instance, it is rigid in how it's written to say you have to have the floor plans elevation for all the proposed homes. There's probably a better way to write that, but we can also deal with that on the first DF that comes through here. If they want to give us a minimum square footage, and I'm perfectly, that would fulfill that for me.
Yeah, but that's what it's saying. You have to do that
Right.
up front, okay? But it's not like saying everything that comes in or no-go has got to be a DF.
Right. Correct.
You know, you still got R1, you
Yeah.
still got R2. You can do whatever you want to do, you know, with the rest of it.
Right, but if you're gonna allow the DF in the R1,
Then it becomes a DF, okay? But it doesn't mean it has to be. R1 could still be R1. I mean, you could sell those 40 acres and have everyone be, you know, an acre lot that there is in the 40 over there if you want it.
I guess you really have to look at the, what is, when somebody comes in and does that, what is the flex that they want? Do they want smaller lots? Do they want narrower setbacks, something like that? That'd be more what your flex would determine.
Developer's gonna, he's gotta make his money too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But the developers that have come to town so far have built individual lots and sold them.
And maybe this is what it needs, but the 5-letter word there, shall, is,
Which
still
way-
bothers me when I see that versus
Which-
recommend, that first paragraph. A shall include everything that's.
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4, 6.
and this is what we want. That's what makes it development flex a DF. That's what does that, okay? Otherwise, they can go in as R1 and figure out what there is and see if it fits.
Do you wanna change that word?
No.
No, just a second now. Ryland, is your concern of changing the word shall to something else?
Well, recommend, but I don't, that
No.
makes it even
No,
less applicable maybe.
yeah, then it wouldn't be a DF
If-
if you do that, so.
If you put the word recommend in there, that's where you're gonna get stuff that say, well, that's not what we wanna do, you recommended it, but we're not doing that.
But it's gonna
Has
come
to
to council,
remain-
P and Z too. So.
No, that's why they have this, it's controlled, okay? A DF is a controlled build, is what it
It has
is.
to remain rigid.
Yeah.
To keep
I've
the
heard it.
control.
That's what it's all about.
I think there's.
Except that
room for-
tree preservation plan.
Well, and what they're trying to do is to have it where you've got some green, you've got the other part of it, yeah.
Well, we talked about that preservation back further on.
And it's fine, we're okay with that, so, yeah.
We'll talk about later one point.
Anything else with DF?
All right.
Marie, anything else with DF?
No, again, I think just the points of making sure that we're communicating about what the intent is of this and that there will be oversight and controls in place. So it's not a free for all.
Exactly.
Next portion here,
Do we need to add that language in there that,
No,
any language into the intent?
it's already.
Well, I mean, it refers to what Marie's talking about.
No, it's spelled out. I mean, this is what they've used in other developments in other cities. That's why it's worked well in all the other cities that this has been involved with. This isn't just something new here.
yeah,
That's all it's gonna take.
it's gonna take training and repetition for us to get used to.
Because if a developer comes in and they're like, I can put 10 houses on here and then I've got one lot that's 1,000 square foot less than your minimum. That doesn't need to go DF, that needs a variance.
Yeah,
That one lot
Yes.
needs a variance.
Speaking about her.
Oh, sorry, I'm just saying it's gonna take a lot of training for our staff, because when a DF is appropriate and needed versus when a variance is needed, because if a developer comes in, they're like, well, I can do this development, but I'm gonna have one lot that's 1,000 square feet less than your minimum, so do I have to go to a DF? Or do we give a variance for the one lot?
Maybe you send the developer back to absorb that lot into the rest of it.
But that's a possibility too, but that's not.
or they can allow the variance to have the one lot.
Well, the.
Right.
Slightly
The thing of
smaller.
it is you'd have that opportunity at the preliminary plat
Correct.
Yeah,
to look at that and either approve or deny it at that point.
So the next paragraph, B, submittal requirements for the DF zoning involving multifamily dwellings, commercial, industrial uses, the application shall include 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6. And here again, the tree preservation plan meeting the requirements and the landscaping plan meeting requirements of section 115.18. We'll talk about that later. There in the floor plan elevations calculations, that's just all. It's something, and maybe, and I don't know if I guess the other thing about anything we're talking about DF, I don't know. And Evan, if you know other engineering companies, here in the Rochester area that have used DFs. Is this something new for our developers in this area? I know that where Lori is from in Blaine, I'm sure it must be very common usage, but is that something new to the area that we're inventing the wheel here for us to deal with or not?
Honestly, the development flat zone is pretty similar to what a lot of cities do for planned unit developments or PUDs. It's really just the change in the name. So most developers, I think, once they read through your development flex zone, they would understand that, hey, this is your equivalent of the PUD. They wouldn't really have any issues going through figuring out what is required, what needs to be submitted. It's pretty standard language. It's just really the name of the zone. It's slightly different from what they might be used to. I say some communities call it like planned zone development. general plan development. PUD is pretty common for most places, but you know, you can kind of call it whatever works for you guys. So
Well,
I think most community, you know, developers are be able to figure out pretty quickly what you guys are doing and how it works.
all right. All right, now we make the big jump through shoreland, floodplain, the performance standards. I guess as we go through whatever we ultimately end up with here, I'm sure there'll be some editorial changes in those two sections. Whether it relates to DF or something else that,
Well, the DNR will control a lot of that.
but I don't think we want to spend time looking at it right now.
No. We just cookie cutter that and put that in anyway. We didn't spend any time with it at
That
all.
was a lot of work with the DNR, with the legal, with
Shoreline.
engineers, like it was.
I mean,
Yeah.
editorial things, there's,
Oh, we didn't change anything.
You have to be careful. I don't know if we have any spotted owls.
oh, you're back there. Huh? All right, 151, 114,
14, what page you on?
performance standard page one. I'm not sure what page it is.
Do you want 114?
What's the number?
151.114. Do it fine real quick.
Should be page 130 of your PDF.
130?
That's
Yeah.
what.
Um, 115 is lighting. 16 land reclamation, earth removal. Lot provisions, 117. 118 is landscaping. Here it talks about all permits for exterior building construction, including new building additions in commercial and industrial zoning districts, shall include a complete landscape plan, which, Evan, I think is pretty standard for us right now, correct?
Correct.
Under sub C, point number 5, spacing and species of trees and shrubs are subject to approval by the zoning administrator.
Yeah.
So that would be you, Jason.
Yep.
You're the tree guy.
No allergy trees.
Right.
I'll give you a list.
Get your tape measure out, okay?
Anything that I have allergies for, I'll give you a list.
You want a big cotton right here for
No, yeah,
Don't stand next to it, make sure it's 6 feet, right?
Fences, retaining walls, 119. $120 is the pre-preservation. I gotta keep in mind, this is for commercial versus residential. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so there's cost, but that's all part of having a business here. Tree removal. Item B. Under tree removal of lots without structure grading permits.
What number do you want?
It's B, it's up page,
Give me
136.
the number.
120
Give me the
subdivision 2.
Yeah,
What's
120.
the code? 151.
151, 120.
151, 120, subdivision B, section 3.
B is a tree removal on lots without construction or grading permits. So they ask about trees. There's also a forest management plan. The trees are removed. Yeah, there's request for what they're going to do to replace them.
Evan, I have a question on this one. For you, does this apply to city parks, things like that? Cause I mean, 2 trees, we cut down quite a few trees sometimes, just wanna make sure that the cities.
This would not apply to right of way, but
Okay.
it goes on
The property, right?
city hall property. Would be covered.
Okay, thank you.
121. Home occupations.
That's all done with the conditional use permit anyway, correct?
152 is garage sales. 123 is permitted encroachments on yards. I didn't see anything there.
Do you really think we need number B in the garage sale part of it?
If you're holding more than
I think
2 a year, you're pretty
I think I-
dedicated. I can't even do one.
Might be her rummage.
I don't think anybody's gonna count and go, oh, well, you
Just saying.
said, yeah.
Zoning administrator can go
Right,
around
you
and
have to
count
get-
the
yeah.
garage sales. and-
It has to be permitted. Garage sales and sales of household items are permitted without, okay, special permit.
124 parking.
This is all within, never mind.
Moving along here.
Yeah.
Unless there's something. 125 is overhead doors and loading spaces.
That goes to commercial, right? But what, if that's the case, what do we have rummage sales in a commercial space for?
The commercials.
Well, that's what if we're in,
No, I don't think all of these apply to commercial. It was the landscaping ones we were talking about, those certain areas work for commercial.
And home occupations and
Yeah.
is the heading under, no garage sales by itself.
be on the overhead door one, or did you move something else?
You would have bet, but I was on the red.
It goes all the way back to the intent. Parking. One twenty-five overhead doors. Loading spaces. 126 is soil erosion and sedimation control. That's a long one.
Yeah.
You have questions about that, we're gonna have to involve somebody else.
We didn't get into that stuff.
Well, a lot of this has to do with the grading plan and stuff like that, so.
Yeah,
And,
I think it's in the
and
MPCA.
during construction.
Yeah, I mean, this is, a lot of this is controlled by MPCA and stormwater runoff and
Mhm.
yeah.
Exactly, and that's kind of where a lot of that shoreline stuff controlled by the MPCA too, and.
then we get into definitions.
Yeah.
I think your definitions are good for open space.
Multiple pages of,
In performance standards, page 33 is the next one. 123.
all the way through. Page 33. 127 for preservation of natural drainage areas. 128 is radio, television and commercial antenna.
Do we have anybody with big antennas in town?
Not very many.
Jerry
We got
Luban's
a
got
couple
one.
over in our area.
There's one over here on the pole, but I don't think that's
Certain TVs.
being used.
I mean, if you got a ham radio operator or whatever,
Yeah.
you'll have a little bit, but they're usually not.
That's, I mean, there's a ham radio operator over here.
Yeah.
And there's a TV antenna on the power pole here next to the parsonage. And I don't think there's anything in the newer neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You don't have them, do you?
We used to have there's a ham that's over, yeah. And I mean, it's where it sits in where it's, you don't even notice unless you're a ham person that knows and looks at that, yeah.
That would be more for your,
129 is height limitations. 130 standards for accessory dwelling units.
what number you on?
130. 130.
Next item is 131 solar energy systems. And under zoning districts A, subdivision 1, item under D, mounting. There's a double I, like ground mounted solar energy systems in accordance with the standards to this section and a conditional use in all zoning districts. I don't think we should allow any ground mounted solar energy systems and only have roof, which is our current code.
Do we want to remove that then?
I'd like to remove anything relative to ground.
Well, and that's fine. I have no problem with that.
I think that just allows for,
Keep what we have today. We have solar ordinance for solar. Not
we
roof.
have ground mounted solar. Peoples does. We got a field of it,
They've had that for,
but they do have it.
but they do have,
That's,
yeah.
that's what this is referring to, I believe, is something along that line.
Or if somebody wanted to put a panel outside their house and have it in the ground instead of on top of the roof.
Yeah.
You know, and then you could have movable ones, so I don't know if that's, where it moves with the sun.
Cause this would require a conditional use permit to do that anyways. They'd have to get
Right.
approval beforehand.
Like, you're not gonna allow that in a residential area, but
Well, you're not gonna allow it in the front yard.
I'm sure this is discussed a lot when we put in the roof mounted.
Maybe 10 years from now, there's a council wants to allow it's in one of these other ones to do a ground, another area of ground one. I don't think it's a horrible one to keep it in there. It still is
Because you
required.
got a conditional use,
Yeah,
yeah.
conditional use has gotta come
Yeah.
before council.
Yeah.
Leave it in there, cause it.
Yeah.
Maybe C.H. Robinson, sold it. Maybe. No, It's not on
I didn't
the
read
list.
it out there.
no, I understand. But it's not,
Yeah.
it's not. It's not out of the picture that.
Yeah, because it says conditional use in all zoning districts. So.
Because that section itself is under 1, which is roof mounted solar systems.
It's under mounting. And then it talks
Mounting.
about roof mounted solar systems.
There's a whole section C down below that covers ground mounted systems in general.
Exactly, there's
It says solar systems alone at the top of the whole.
B1, D, and
131.
6.
Yeah, it does, okay, I didn't look at it, okay.
Mm.
I have no
Just
problem.
right for the open natural things.
That's
And then you get into the B, general provisions, exceptions, and there's a B. Ground mounted that cover less than 17 square feet.
Well, no, I kind of go back to your one,
D, or,
number one, under. Go under, number 2.
mhm.
It says approvals required. No solar energy system shall be erected, altered, improved, or reconstructed. Now, if somebody was upgrading the panels, that's improved.
I'm sorry, where you at? 1,
Just under number 2,
oh, yeah, approval is required.
it says approvals
Got it,
required.
okay.
And it says improved. I guess, I don't know. Improved means making it better, maybe to make it work better. You know, if you're not gonna let them improve them, you need a permit to improve it? Is that what you're saying? Maybe they're going from 80 watts to 100 watt.
Well, I think they would still need a building permit, cause you're gonna be replacing something. It's like a mechanical permit type
It's an
thing.
electrical thing, but
Yeah, I think you need to have a permit for that.
Yeah, I mean, it would still be work done
I don't know that there's a fee for it.
No.
You just have to let us know it's happening.
Or very minimal, whatever, I mean, there's.
Especially without a
inspection
permit,
fees,
so, okay, I get it,
But I
okay.
was trying to think what I do. when
I would
put
think
my
you would
solar.
actually would need, be required more of an electrical permit than a building permit
Yeah.
or something like that, but whatever.
It does say with,
But we don't
It
have.
does- it does say
Permit at all fall under.
requires a permit, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
cause they have electrical section or mechanical section
Oh,
or,
okay.
yeah,
So that's
all of
how
ours, all of our,
Too then.
yeah, all of ours fall under building permits. Whether it's electrical, mechanical, whatever the case may be, so.
Go under B, general provisions,
Which one you on now?
B, regular general provisions,
One
item
fifty one.
one, exception.
General provisions of what?
160.
What's the code?
Still under solar.
We're still the same
Okay,
code.
that's okay.
Well, 131. There's a point B, ground mounted solar systems that cover less than 17 square feet do not require a permit.
So that's like,
That's like a 5 by 3 footer.
right, that's like a single solar panel that somebody put out in their yard to charge their portable generator that they have for their camper or a CPAP or something like that. So that's not gonna be a permanent.
Okay.
It's ground mounted.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I'm just thinking, that's about what mine is, you know, is about three, if I.
Yeah,
open
that's
it up, yeah.
for like
Right,
a
but
portable
you
Yeah.
have- do you
electric
have a mounted
generator.
No,
Well, this is saying ground mounted, so that's why Ryland's concerned.
Yeah, I think anything laying on the ground would be considered ground mounted at that
I
point.
don't think it's-
Propped up by cedar, cinder block.
If
it's
it's
probably
laying
ground
in the, if
mounted.
it's laying in the yard, you really can't consider it mounted. I'm just,
Maybe just toss it out in the yard.
well,
That's
what,
what you
what,
do with
what,
them.
what do you do with
set
them?
'em up, yeah.
Some of you're propping them
You
up,
stand
that
them up.
But they're
They're
temporary is what they're.
They're not, they're fastened permanently is what mounted would mean.
So do we wanna change that to temporary
Just remove it.
panels?
It doesn't require a permit.
Then take it
It
out?
doesn't really need to be in our code.
Well, until you get in here and if somebody's reading it and goes, well, this covers, it says all, whereas this one's saying anything less than this, you don't need it. I would think temporary solar systems that cover less than 17 feet would be better than just removing it.
I don't know where the word temporary just emphasizes it's not permanent.
It's weird.
It's okay.
Temporary solar system,
Is that okay,
Temporary,
Marie?
yeah, just temporary solar systems.
less than 17 square feet, yeah.
I guess my only issue with the whole thing is it says it's ground mounted.
So we'll take mounted out, it'll just say temporary round
Change
solar
it, ground
systems.
mounted to temporary solar system.
Yeah, just temporary, yeah, I won't say ground
Yes.
mounted, just temporary.
Cleans it up.
Yeah. That's fine. That is a good point, that they're not generally mounted.
Exactly. You take it with you, put it outside your camper, and get out in the woods or whatever.
Nobody's really incorporate that into your house.
Yeah, nobody's gonna be living off of it.
It's not that powerful, the solar panels generally.
Within that
Okay.
exception on the next page under abandonment,
Next page, under.
Section 6B. About it.
so the question I had is how do you enforce this?
Yeah.
How do you?
Well, I think it is, if it was inoperative and not being used, how would you know it?
I think maybe like, I look at this, like this, the property we have now that has it there, if for some reason it ever. Like just the property gets abandoned, gets sold, foreclosed on. Or something, like they're not paying their taxes on that land. And it's goes for a year without it, it'll be noticed by the county. And we'll get notice that it's, there's an issue with the land. But
It also talks about roof mounted system.
What about if
This-
there's hail damage and it breaks the glass that there is and they don't repair what there is off of it?
So
And
we're
it's-
assuming this is residential, but this also covers if people's ground mounted solar panels become damaged, they've gotta do something about them. And if they're wind torn or hail damaged, we'll know, cause we'll see it. So that just gives us the ability to enforce removing.
Removing it or
Yeah.
updating it.
I understand there's no way to tell if the occupied house is actually using
When
their.
you get like an abandoned house that has it on it type
Yeah.
thing, and, I mean, that's, I don't feel like this is gonna be a common occurrence by any means, but.
No, and like with the house thing, if it's over 50% damage, they don't rebuild them, right? Is that what it is, something like that?
So, yeah, that's what I would imagine here, but I understand
So
your
leave it
point,
then?
Ryland, yeah.
So
I
next
think
item
this-
is C ground mounted systems. There it goes into more detail, but that gets back to having permit
That's
conditional use.
that's a whole, that's a solar farm though, is what that almost reads like.
The C.
Section C,
Mhm.
that almost, yeah.
Well, I don't think we're
Which
gonna
is
allow
people's.
them in town anyway. 'Cause
That's where it says.
Little smaller lots.
Well, it's not a good use of tax dollars.
I'm sure we'll see more roof than before ground. My opinion.
I think you're right, Ryland. I think they're gonna incorporate it in there. Sure, they'd be a lot cheaper to wire and, electric.
And there may be other commercial people that wanna do it, but that's. They'll have to come with a conditional request. 132 accessory structures. Keep the 200 square foot. Change. 133 buffer yard flexibility. This is the request to use. Reduction 5 foot increments down to 225. This is some of the flexibility that the zoning administrator can consider reduction in any of those size of trees, greens. Seven-foot solid fence. I thought we had 6 foot earlier in here or something.
I think that is in residential stuff at 6 foot.
Yeah.
But then it's also, you're changing your setback, so we're gonna change your standard.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, like you wanna reduce your setback, but we're gonna make you put a higher fence to help block some of the stuff,
yeah,
so.
Generally, the solid fence is for screening anyway, so it's.
Yeah.
Like curbing 135. I didn't see any, and maybe I just have missed it or something. No storm sewer guidelines, codes. That's a question I had. As we talk about curbing. For high use industrial development and buildings.
But they're gonna have to have ponds on anything new that's going on anyway, right?
That's all
So
part-
that would
all
all
part of
come with the grading plan and everything. It's just updated.
Management involved in it.
Yeah, so I don't think you'd have that.
I think Joel's been pretty good about pushing that on.
Do you have any comment about curbing, Evan?
I think you already have that covered elsewhere in your city code or the ponding requirements, so. Cause I don't think there's any changes you guys need to make to that.
it's a good idea with that allows the drainage plan to actually go through the street, not necessarily be created having ditches through the yards. You drain it down to one main area on the street and
Yeah, and that's
then
all,
take it down the drainage area.
and that's engineering following our MPCA codes for storm sewer collection and.
Yeah, I think this section is really just more making sure the parking lot has curbing, whereas the actual drainage itself would be covered under either state or other requirements for you.
Like the Dollar General is all curved around the entire lot. Does it run off the side, does it?
It runs into their pond.
Huh?
It runs into their pond.
Right, but I
Yeah, they
mean,
curbed it down.
I mean, it's all curved to go over that way.
They get straight into a pond.
Yeah.
Yeah, south. The bottom, 136, building relocation. 137 is OACC guidelines. And the question I have is that planning and zoning, when they adopted that, they put a lot of effort into the drawings of photographs. I know it adds pages, but it just, that was the intent. And I think it's, you know, it's talked about in the contract from WSB, they want to be highly illustrative. And I think OACC photos will be a nice add to complement codes.
Now, the OACC guidelines only refers to B1 and B2 districts. That's where it needs to stay.
Right.
You don't want them
It's not-
guidelines to refer to individual houses.
Right, it's not houses, but it is business. Yeah.
Pardon?
It is businesses, yeah.
I think as far as pictures go, I think that's something we hold on file. We can put a file on our website separate, and we can hold on file at city offices. But to put within the city code, especially as we look to adopt and move into the Muni code online, it's not the format that you're gonna find on there. I think it'll be easier just to say, you know, attach this and reference it in a different area while keeping the rest of this clean. And honestly, if people or developers got questions, we can direct them, say, hey, this is pictures that match up with
Yeah.
B1 and B2 and whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So,
That's fine.
You need to see pictures, see Jason and other W.
Right?
get your pictures.
All right. That takes us to the end of performance standards. 138 is reserved.
All right, and that takes us to the end of time.
Okay, we're done here.
50
2
more
hours is up.
pages.
Huh?
We have 50 more pages.
There's more than that.
Well, 50 more PDF pages,
Yeah, it says we got 50 more.
50 more.
We're at 175,
Got
but
all the
it's
posters
25.
yet, too.
All right, well, Randall's got posted, so next
Well, here's
meeting.
my pile I got rid of, so.
That's good. That's good.
I think we plan one more day. And with that, we'll get through a good chunk of these, but I think if we plan it out just a few weeks, we could probably have, some of the corrections made, Evan, to brought back, so we could start reviewing after this as well. You think that's reasonable?
Yeah, if you guys have a Word doc copy, we can definitely get going on those.
Okay.
Looking at April meeting still,
Yeah, towards the beginning of April.
I mean, like April council meeting for this, or?
Yeah, that's, I mean, unless we get it done and we want to do a special meeting, which I would not be opposed to. I know a lot of developers people are itching. And I want to get it done in March, but I just don't know that March is gonna be feasible.
At this point.
So even with that, so
Let's push for another meeting to finish this out and then,
So we've got next week, we've got on the 19th, we've got our RFP meeting. So do we want to push for like the end of March, beginning of April? Maybe host a meeting
That's
that,
on the 19th.
yeah,
April meeting's on the 21st.
can we just change the RFP meeting to a code
I think you
meeting?
want to get started on that, so it wouldn't be bad to
We want Tim to start working on the codes.
say what?
So if we do it a week from tonight, I don't think Evan would be ready for us.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we do it a couple weeks out, if we do it I don't know, that's the 2nd of April. I don't know, that's
When's Good
Thursday, that's the
Friday?
first.
Good
What?
Friday is the third.
There is Good Friday.
Yeah, and the 2nd is gonna be P and Z day. Maybe the 1st, April 1st, but Wednesday, that's bad night. The April Fool's Day, we don't.
April Fool's Day.
There we go.
Sure.
We all start laughing.
I'm honest, like April 1st, I mean, that's, I think the start of, that week.
That's
But-
okay.
I can't do Wednesday.
We're gonna go to the 31st, or is there something else on that day?
And we're back to the night.
I mean, the 31st, Tuesday, the 31st,
Be okay with that.
March 31st?
or, yeah,
March.
March 31st. Marie, does that work, that Tuesday?
Yeah, that's better day.
Okay,
March 31st is a
Jim?
Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay, cause the EDA, I think, is the 24th, so we shouldn't have anything going on. So we'll potentially.
That's Devin, if that's gonna be okay for him.
ADA.
That works for me, the 31st.
Yeah, okay, so we will potentially plan for the 31st then. We'll plan, not potentially, we'll plan for it. For the next,
5:30.
yep, 5:30 still work for everybody?
Yeah, I think it's better.
I like that too.
So right now we had scheduled our second RFP workshop in one of those days.
What?
We had our first RFP workshop on the
Next-
19th,
Right.
Yep, that's the 19th.
so we'll still have that.
Yeah, we're still gonna have
Yes,
that.
And then the 30th, we have the second RFP workshop. So we'll be together the 30th, the 31st, and then, yeah. P and Z's the second.
Evan, we'll get you the Word document so we can start working on that in the coming
Sounds
weeks
good.
here. Yeah,
31st, right?
yep, 31st, 5:30. All right. I'm good to everybody else? Perfect, okay.
Sounds good.
Sounds-
Thanks, everybody.
We will go ahead and end the meeting and Maria Scott. Thanks, Evan,
Have
appreciate
a
it.
good night.
You.
Thanks, Evan.
Sure.
Good night, Marie.
She dipped out real fast.